Okay, welcome everyone to, this is wisdom class number 114. And yep, this is the class on activating your sixth sense. So lots and lots to talk about. It's going to be part perspective, part understanding how do you open it, and then part activity. And if we need to, I wasn't sure how long it would take us to do all this, so we may move it into part 1 and part 2. We'll see. It's always a fun one to do. So without further ado, okay, for those of you who are new, if you scroll your cursor down over the bottom of your screen, you can pull up a bottom bar that should talk about your, you can post your video if you want to be on video. You can take a look at, muting yourself, unmuting yourself, things like that. You also have the chat bar. So if you click on the chat, you're going to be able to send messages to people. And hello, Stephanie. She sent a private message to me. You can send it privately to people, or you can send it to everyone. So if you go down to the bottom of the chat, it says type message here. And above that, you're going to be able to see where you can select a person, or you can just get in with everyone. So that's there. The other thing, you can also react. You can raise your hand. You can, give a thumbs up, whatever it is that you want. So, Susan Schultz, I am very happy to see you here. So I just want to say hi to everyone. Oh my goodness, I love seeing everyone here. This is fantastic. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so let's get started, because we have so much to do. All righty. So, let me get in, and I'm just going to mute everyone. So give me just a second. I'm going to just get into participants and mute all. Fabulous. Okay. So there we go. So I'm going to start with some, you can call them definitions if you want to, but what I want to first do is just talk to you about what I've discovered as I've been putting this together. I was like, well, I should probably start with a definition for everyone, just to make sure everyone's we're all on the same page. And so I looked up the definition of sixth sense. And Cambridge English Dictionary said it's an ability that some people believe that seems to give them information without using their five senses of sight, hearing, touch, smell, or taste. I'm not sure if you would have a problem with this definition, but I had a little bit of a problem with this definition. And I want to share why. Okay, so I want you to think into this. Some people believe. Now, that's an opinion. Okay, it's an opinion. Okay, and they seem to give them information without using the five senses. This isn't really a definition. It's more of someone's account of a persuasive way to define something. Also, without using the five senses is extremely incorrect. And we're going to talk about that today. So when I see this, I have to say this is really a falsified opinion. This is not what the sixth sense actually is. And there's so much more. I want to have you look at a few more definitions. Clairvoyance is defined by Oxford Languages as the supposed facility of perceiving things or events in the future or beyond normal sensory contact. Okay, all right, so being able to sense beyond, but there's a supposed, there. Being psychic, according to dictionary.com, being sensitive to influences or forces of a non-physical or supernatural nature. Yep, being very sensitive. I agree with that. A medium is a person, I agree with that, who is allegedly sensitive to psychic influences or forces. And they're also then, of course, that is mediumship. I'm sorry. The mediumship then is the practice of purportedly mediating communication between spirits of the dead and living human beings. Now, I want to say something, because as we're talking about clairvoyance and as we're talking about psychicness, we can keep it in frou-frou, woo-woo, la-la land, or we can realize that there's a lot of reality to this. And that's part of what I want to talk to you about. I also, though, want to talk about why we define words. Words, the whole meaning of defining, or the purpose of defining words is this. It enables us to have a common understanding of a word or a subject. So it allows all of us to be on the same page when we're discussing or reading about an issue. It is not supposed to use skepticism. It is not supposed to use opinion. It is not supposed to say it's based in evidence or not based in evidence. It is just supposed to be a way that we can have common understanding. So when I look at a lot of the words that are used for anything psychic, you can see on this slide, I put these definitions are using words like supposed, allegedly, purportedly. And I want us to move beyond that. We can't say right or wrong, true or false, proven or not proven. Just like you cannot prove an emotion exists. You can show evidence of behavior based on an emotion, but you can't prove that it exists. So clairvoyance, psychicness, mediumship, mediums, those sixth sense, you know, those types of definitions also need to be treated just like emotions. There's evidence that they exist, but you can't really prove them. So I'm going to just suggest that we take those words out and we say, okay, clairvoyance, it is perceiving beyond what is normal. It is being psychic is also a supernatural nature, okay, whatever that might be, but we'll figure it out. And a medium is the person who is sensitive, and the mediumship is the practice of allowing channeling to come through you. I'm going to have to stop for just 2 seconds. It is so hot in here. I'm about ready to pass out. I have a heater going. I'm going to have to stop it. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, now we're all going to be in this together because I won't pass out from the heat. All right, so let's talk about this definition. This is Merriam-Webster, and they said a power of perception is sixth sense, like but not one of the five senses. It's kind of like it, but it's not one of them. Now, or a keen intuitive power, all right? So I want to talk about this piece because we're going to be bringing this in, but not one of the five senses. I'm going to disagree with that. Remember, your five senses are seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, right? The sixth sense actually enhances those five senses. So the five senses are part of clairvoyance, and that's something that people are misunderstanding. What happens is that when you activate, which we're going to talk about doing and learning how today, when you activate your sixth sense, all right, what happens is that you create multi-dimensional perception of those five senses and more. What happens is when you activate the sixth sense, you actually will have the ability to listen to your body, listen to what's going on inside of you in a multi-dimensional way. And the body does not lie. The mind lies, okay? The chatterbox that we have, the ego brain lies, but the body doesn't. So it's about learning to perceive. We're gonna talk about also not just having multidimensional five senses, okay? But it also, the sixth additional piece then would be a sense of knowing or gut instinct, okay? Your intuition. So we're going to talk about the 7 types of clairvoyance. Now, if you were in the class Getting Out of Mind Chatter, these are some of the slides from there, because that leads right into clairvoyance. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. We have to learn to get out of our heads. So if you haven't watched Quieting Your Mind Chatter, you need to do that. That's crucial for this. So, and we'll talk about why. So clairvoyance, all right, is clear seeing or psychic vision. So normally I see through my eyes, right? But you can also have visions, or I get little, it looks like movie clips. And I, at first, when I first started seeing them, they would be fast, 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 fast. And then as I learned to work with my body, I learned to slow them down so that I can actually hold them. And then I can listen to information as I hold them. All right. This just takes practice, and we'll talk about how to do that. Clairaudience is clear hearing or psychic hearing. Now, I've talked about this many times with people in these classes, that there are times that I've heard disembodied music and like beautiful choirs of angels singing and commented on it, and only to find out I'm the only one hearing it. I've heard, very seldom have I heard audio voices, like voices audio at an audible level, where it's like, whoa, there's nobody there and somebody just said something. I have heard that, but usually what I hear is it's a very psychic hearing. Like I'm hearing information, but it's not audible, okay? Clairtangency would be also known as psychometry. That's clear touching. So you can grab an object and say, oh, let me just see what this has to tell me. And there's a reason why that works. It's because of the photons and biophotons, but we can talk about that scientifically later. Clairgustance, okay? So we've got seeing, hearing, and touching. Now tasting. Clear tasting when death is around. I will taste metal, almost like I'm tasting blood, like iron in the blood, but I've got this taste that comes in. When somebody's on drugs and they're around me, like street kind of drugs, I taste it, or even alcohol, or even, I could taste the difference psychically between beer and liquor. It's really bizarre, but there are so many ways that can be activated. Clairsalience is clairvoyant smelling. So being able to smell like what a person smelled like, you can just smell them. Or I've smelled kind of evil smells. I woke up one morning with an evil smell and a terrible energy in my room, and I was like, yeah, no. So there are ways that you can smell. I've smelled roses when I felt Mother Mary energy. It was really beautiful. Okay. Then let's talk about the other types. So we've got the 5 that are enhanced. Okay. They become multidimensional. Claircognizance is clear knowing or psychic knowing. It's just this is your gut instinct. This is that thing that says, I just know. I don't know why. No, I just know. I've got that job. I already know. I'm not going to be here by the end of the year. I don't know why. Okay. There's that knowing, and there's no way to tell anyone why. You just do. Clairsentience then is sensing emotions. Okay. So these are additional senses that are there for you. So when somebody is empathic, that means that they are very sensitive to people's emotions. So if they walk into a room and everyone's grieving, they're going to be like, oh my God, you can just feel it. And it's a lot that hangs on you. So these are the 7 types of ways that you can be clairvoyant. All right. Usually people have a combination, and I would say that everyone's clairvoyance or combination of clairvoyance with strengths and weaknesses, etc., is as unique as your fingerprint. Very unique. There isn't one psychic that works like another, because we're all vastly different, but everyone has clairvoyance. So when I say everyone is clairvoyant, I mean everyone is clairvoyant. And when I describe clairvoyance, I say that everyone has it, but it is kind of like an athletic ability. It's like, I can throw a ball, but I'm never going to be the star quarterback. Trust me on that, ever. Okay? I can throw one, but I'm not that good at all. So it's the same thing with clairvoyance. Some people have a heightened ability, depending on how you're made. But it just like if I throw the ball, I can get better with practice, and I can open up more abilities of throwing when I learn to fine tune it. So today is either to strengthen, open, all right, or just, expand your clairvoyance. When I say everyone is clairvoyant, this is what I mean. Everyone has a pineal gland, everyone, all right? I talked in the class about mind chatter. I talked about the difference between the pituitary versus pineal thinking, okay? And we're gonna talk about how pineal thinking isn't thinking, all right? This picture is a picture of your brain. There would be your eye in the front, okay? There's about where your nose would be, okay? And clearly those are not proportionally done. This would look like a very odd person. But the front of the head is where you think and chatter, think and chatter, think and chatter. This is a product of the ego, okay? And it keeps you focused on your external world. This product also has many good things to it, which you're going to learn about in next class if you choose to stay. All right, but so it's got many good things, but it's also your place that keeps you from being clairvoyant. The center of the head is different. This is your pineal thinking, okay? And it's really not thinking, as I said, it's perceiving. It's in the center of your head. And when you're in this place, you're really focused on listening and receiving and being aware of your body, of how your body feels, of what messages are coming in. You're not in thought. If you are in thought, you're not using your intuition, okay? If there's any thought process going on, that is not intuitive. If there's analysis, if there's emotion, that is not intuitive, all right? Intuition is just there. It's just present. So give me just a second. I'm just going to mute everyone here. Okay, there we go. Oops, let's get back to this. Now, one of the things that I put in the class that I gave on Mind Chatter, the last of the transition time classes, I talked about the Eye of Horus. Now, this is a symbol that you'll see all over. We even have this, guys, on our dollar bills. Somebody tell me why, I don't know. All I know is that the Eye of Horus is from ancient Egypt, all right? It was considered to be a symbol for health and rejuvenation. It was said to have protective powers. It's said to possess healing properties. And there's a reason for this, okay? Now, the Eye of Horus represents your sixth senses. The smell, the sight, the eyebrow or that arch over the top, that's actually considered your thought or your perception, your clairvoyance, okay? And I'm going to talk about this in a second. The curved tail is your taste, the left side of the eye is hearing, and it's not really your eye. This is in the center of your brain, okay? The teardrop is said to represent your touch. Now I want to show you something. Take a look at this. This right here, okay, is the Eye of Horus. This is the center of your brain. This is called the limbic system. And this little pineal gland that's in here is actually said to be the gateway to your soul, or the gateway to listen to your clairvoyance, to listen to universal intelligence, to listen to Akashic records, to listen to your higher self, your guides, or to God. All right, that's what it's there for. So the question then becomes, okay, so we all have this pineal gland, and just so in case you don't know this, the pineal gland, okay, I'll go back to this picture. The pineal gland is actually a physical third eye. It is a hollow gland. It is fluid filled, and it has photoreceptors just like your eyeball. Okay, why would you have photoreceptors or cones and rods that pick up energy so that you can see when it's in the center of your head? You can't see anything out here. You're darn right. You're not intended to. You're intended to take all of this external perception when you bring it through the pineal and activate the pineal gland. What happens is that now you have not just touch, you can also have psychic touch, because the center of the eye will actually pick up energy. And we're going to talk about this in a moment, but there are 5 different ways that you can bring energy into your body, into the pineal gland. Energy is what physicists call information carriers. information is stored in little points of light that make up everything in the world. This glasses case is made of little points of light. They're just so, that the scientists explain that the points of light are 1,000 times less than what your eye is able to visibly see. So we can't see the light. And we think that this is something solid, but it's not. It's actually little points of light that are so densely compact and are vibrating so slowly that we think that it's solid. Well, it's just more solid than we are, okay? So we can actually receive into the pineal gland information about each other, okay? We can receive information about the universe, about God, about our higher selves. We can tap into our humanity, our collective consciousness, okay? That's actually scientific. They talk about the tipping point. All right, this is collective information that we as humanity have created about our world. So we have this ability to bring this information into this little gland called the pineal gland in the center of your head, in this little limbic system, also known as the Eye of Horus. All right, and we can then bring in intuitive messages and activate. Now, okay, how do you activate these senses is your question, I'm sure. In the pituitary gland, there's the pineal gland in the center of the head. There's a chemical called dimethyltryptamine. Now, this is not the DMT that you're going to find in street drugs like Molly or ecstasy or even just pure DMT. You know, no, that's a chemical or a synthetic DMT. The DMT within us, we have it naturally occurring. Dimethyltryptamine, DMT, okay, it actually is said that it is, it actually works with the serotonin and melatonin within your body because your pineal gland releases all those chemicals. Some medical news today actually tried to say that it was a hallucinogenic drug that's released into the body, and that it just, you know, it happens. They call it the spirit molecule due to the intense psychedelic experience. It's not a psychedelic experience. You're not getting drugged with your own body. What happens now, if you take it streetwise, you're getting an overdose and it's synthetic. If it is inside of yourself, here's what happens. I put my little Bitmoji on there to kind of giggle a little bit to say, okay, if you get out of your head enough, okay, and you learn how to get away from all this chatter and all this thought and all this stuff going on in here, you stop all the thought and you just get into the center of your head and you open up and just receive and stop the chattering, you will release dimethyltryptamine. Dimethyltryptamine will actually activate a portion of the cerebellum. The cerebellum, everyone, is this. The cerebellum, which is in the back part of your brain, okay, kind of down by the base of the brain in the back, it is actually a sensory perceptor. All right, it coordinates all of your motor functioning in the body. It's coordinating your posture and your balance and all of that kind of stuff, right? It also receives information from the sensory systems, your touch, your smell, your hearing, your taste, okay? And what happens is it tells you how to use your senses and to be balanced and functioning in the world. When you activate DMT in your body, you are activating a portion of the cerebellum that can act into a higher level. You're able to perceive more. You're not having a trip, okay? You can end up with a trip if you're taking some psychedelics, okay? But if you activate your own DMT in the center of your head by getting out of mind chatter, now all of a sudden you're going to start to activate your clairvoyance. So when you learn to get into the pineal and you open up, and that's what the getting out of mind chatter class is telling you, Again, if you have not watched it, get in there and watch it. All right. It's on my YouTube channel. You can't miss it. Get out of mind chatter. All right. When you learn to get out of mind chatter, and now you're opening up into the area where you can be clairvoyant, which everyone can, you're going to allow communication in. You're going to allow higher energies into your body. You're going to open up your intuition and learn how to work with it. You're going to tap into that universal knowledge about other people or the world, or you know, something about even about yourself, right? You can learn to listen to internal guidance. We have, I mentioned, 5 openings where this energy or information carriers or little points of light that are called photons or biophotons if they're in a biological being, okay, they can enter in through the temples. The temples are soft. They're openings into the brain. Okay, if you look right here in the temples, you know, energy can actually enter right in that fissure, right? We have another fissure here. This is called your anterior fontanelle. We have another fissure. Fissure means opening or crack. Okay, here's another one in the back. That's the posterior fontanelle. You have one right over the bridge of your nose. That's where you're right here. That's why we put the bindi spot there, or we, you know, Catholics do Ash Wednesday right there. This in the glabella fissure is where we perceive from each other. When we're interacting with each other, we can perceive. Okay, so you've got 5 openings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the top of the head, 5. And all of the energy that enters in meets in the limbic system in the pineal. The pineal can receive the information and it can give you your clairvoyance, because when you're out of chatter, you're going to activate that cerebellum that can perceive the information. Now, there's some tips that I'm going to give you about this. When people talk about the third eye, I always say the third eye is actually physical. It's a physical third eye. So when I was in the pre-med, right, just studying biology, dissecting everything, you know, the pineal, it literally, although you can't really see it, it looks all mushy, but it's kind of like if the eye is collapsed, you don't really see much. It's hard to see the photoreceptors, but there are photoreceptors, okay, that are in there that, again, are bringing you information. I'm going to skip past this for just a second. So your pineal gland is your satellite. It is your receiver, but it's not where you listen from. Okay, this is a big mistake that people make. You want to be out of the front of the head and in the pineal, because you want to imagine it like this. If you're in thought at all, you're closing your third eye. Okay, when you're in the center, you're opening your third eye. Okay, that's why a lot of people close their front eyes when they want to listen. Okay, because closing here stops the external sensors and focuses internally. So we want to stay out of the front of the brain. The next thing you want to do is you want to start to listen with your whole being. Okay, we're going to do a little practice of this together. So you're going to get out of your head. You're going to go, man, I can't be chattering, or I'm not going to listen to my guidance, my internal guidance system, or my guides, or intuition, or whatever it is, visions. I can't receive them if I'm in chatter. Okay, so you have to get out of the frontal lobe, move into the center of your head, open up that limbic system, let your pineal be the satellite to receive information. You're going to quiet that mind, and then you're going to listen with your 3 brains. Okay, you've quieted this part of the brain in the front. You've opened the top to receive. Okay, so it's a receiving type of listening. And then you're going to listen with your heart and your gut. A brain is defined based on having neurons. Okay, a neuron in the brain, we have 100 million neurons in our head. All right, that's our gray matter, right? You also have a cardiac brain. Your cardiac brain is this is the study of neurocardiology. That's the study of your heart brain. It has 40,000 neurons. Your gut, okay, your gut, known as your enteric brain, 500 million neurons. Now, you tell me what part of you want to listen to. Chatterbrain? Or do you want to open up and receive and listen with your heart and your gut? Okay, your gut knows. This has been a saying for years. Your gut knows. Listen to your gut. What does your gut tell you? There's a reason there's that saying. 500 million neurons. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out of the head and we're going to listen. When you listen to the body you have to have somatic awareness, which means that you can really sense what is happening in the body. When you sense what's happening in the body, if clairvoyance, is here, thought is here. So you have to have the sensitivity to listen to this very subtle difference in the body. When you learn this little subtle difference because you chose to get out of chatter and you chose to listen to what the body feels like, and you chose to perceive openly without being in the head, you're going to start to notice that it's like a language. When you learn this psychic language, it is so much more accurate than the mouth could ever be. So close your eyes, everyone. And all I want you to do is pay attention to the body. Don't do anything else. Notice your breathing. And now I want you to relax the lower belly. And I want you to have a nice Buddha belly hanging out. All right, I want it to be like a nice relaxed balloon. Blah. And I want you to breathe in through your nose, filling up the base of the belly, breathing out a big belly, breathing high up into the lungs, and then release the breath slowly through the mouth, like you're breathing out a straw. At the bottom of the breath, relax even more. Take an even deeper breath, breathing high up into the lungs, holding slightly. Release the breath slowly through the mouth. At the bottom of the breath, go to an even breathing pattern. Now I want you to take your conscious thought, and we're going to move it, first of all, out, away from the outside world. Imagine the outside world doesn't exist. There's only you inside of you. And now I want you to imagine there's a room in the center of your head, that limbic system. I want you to move away from the forehead, away from the eyes, away from the eyebrows, and move your thought like it's falling backward, behind the eyes, in between the temples, below where the soft spot was as a baby. And in this space, you don't have to do anything. You just get to open up the top of the head like it's a big sunroof, like you are a being without the top of your head. And you are going to perceive. In this space, you don't think, you're just aware. And now, don't focus there. Notice your heart. Keep the top of the head open. Notice your heart. Let it open. Notice your gut. Let it open. Listen with the body, not the head. The head is receiving. You're aware of the head. Now, open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, you're going to notice that most of you will feel a lot calmer. So I want you to, I'm going to stop the share for just a second. I'm going to open up the chat. And I want you guys to tell me how you feel. How was that experience? Moving into the center of the head, opening up the top of the head. What do you feel? Okay, thank you, Cindy. She says very calming, kind of weightless. Okay, a lot of people say that. So Sushila says very relaxed. Ron says, while I resist the closing of the eyes, I yawn deeply, which is my body telling me I'm on the right path. There comes a deep relaxation. And Stan says, calm. Yeah, someone said to me privately, relaxed. Okay, so that's what happens. You're releasing in your brain, you instantaneously release the chemicals from the pineal. Diane says peace, absolutely. Kathleen says calm and open. So the reason that you're feeling these things is because you released not only DMT, which you did, you also released serotonin, the good mood elevator. You released melatonin, a chemical that helps you get all chilled out and relax. You released melatonin, which helps you sleep at night. All of these chemicals now stop the resistance that our brain tends to put into our clairvoyance. When we're in chatter, we're all in the external world, which keeps resistance. We can't have resistance when we're clairvoyant. We need to get into the center of the head and just receive. You're not receiving if you're stressed out. So Judy says, more centered, calm, aware of the truth. Exactly. Genau, that's the German word for exactly. Okay, so stimmt, which means true. Okay, so Judy, exactly. You can be aware of the truth when you stop the chatter and you stop resisting. You need to listen. Okay, Rachel says, I felt a pressure in my head when shifting thought into the middle of it. Is it energy coming in? So when there's pressure, a lot of times what it feels like is like this, I always feel like I'm wearing a helmet. I guess that's the way that I describe it. So it's like an awareness, almost like I've got so much energy over the top of my head that it's kind of crazy. So you might be sensing that. Now, if you feel any pain, it's probably because you let in high vibration and your brain is not used to it. All right, so those are the things that can go on. Someone on the iPhone said, I let go of all the thoughts in the brain. Perfect. Yeah. Susan says, instant calm, peace. I was yawning. Yawning is releasing, okay? And Cindy says, I realized during this class how much in my head I was this week, and therefore was unable to meditate. I was very frustrated. I didn't feel that lightness in my crown until today. Okay, so seriously, I actually love when you're ready to get it, you're ready to get it. And when you're ready to move out of chatter, you will, right? You know, I can see a bunch of you on here who we've worked getting you out of chatter, and you've worked getting you out of chatter. So that is the place where you need to be. Now, on my YouTube channel, you're going to get a meditation called Pineal activation, and I'll put my YouTube channel up here. It's just a free meditation. Okay, so it's youtube.com. See Kelly Schweigel. All right, that's my YouTube channel. Oh, I sent it to Stephanie privately. Stephanie, you are the only one who gets it. So funny. If somebody, let me get it to everyone. If somebody private messages me, it defaults to only going to a message to her. Okay, so here we go. There is the YouTube channel. So let me just mute people, mute all, and get out of there. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back now. We're going to learn some additional techniques, but the very number one key to being clairvoyant, you've got to learn to get out of your head. So again, if you haven't watched the getting out of your head, getting out of mind chatter video, you need to do that. So let me get back and share the screen again. So listen, listen, listen. Now, here's the second thing. Okay, it's not as important, but it's important. Don't focus. Don't focus. If you focus too much on trying to see or hear, from your third eye, like, I'm going to hear my guides today. Oh my good Lord, you're going to have so much resistance in your head that you won't be able to hear. And I think I had a message. Let me just see. I had a chat. Yes. This is someone who sent it to me privately, and she said, when I opened my eyes back up and sensed my surroundings, it felt like something was off in the room, like a funky, unsettling energy, but not sure what that's about. This is taking it, steps further, which is really good. What you're noticing is that's your sensitivity. When you open up into the pineal and you stop that chatter, you're going to start to be sensitive to your surroundings. Sensitive. You're going to go into different places. You're going to be like, whoa, this is funky energy in here. So if you're sensing funky energy, you can actually clear your room just like you clear a body. So if you get on my kellyschwagel.com website, which I noticed was down today, so I'll have to figure out what's going on. But if you get onto my website, what you're going to see is a class about clearing and protecting. All right. It'll teach you how to clear your room. So you can actually be sensitive to your body and notice how your body is feeling and be sensitive to your room. Okay, so let's get in, and I've got one more chat. Let me keep that open. Okay, and so this is another private message who said, I'm noticing that the further back in my head I go, there's a tug on my eyes. So what you want to do is absolutely surrender the pressure or the tug. So let that go. It'll actually adjust, because I remember having that way early on when I started to learn to get out of my head and get into the center. That tug will stop. Okay, it's almost painful because you're starting to put a perception in a place you haven't been. Okay, so this is huge. And guys, I want to say something. If there was one thing I would tell people to do, one thing I would tell people to do to change your life, get the F out of your head. Learn to live in here. Open your perception. Okay. All right. So this is huge. So now I want to talk about this. You can't focus in, like this guy. You can't listen in really intently to your clairvoyance. You have to allow it in. All right. And so this is what I tell people to do. Dim your drishti. That's what I say. So a drishti is actually a technique that's used in yoga. Okay, it's a drishti is the method of gazing at a focal point in yoga. So like if you're going to do something like the tree pose, like this person is doing, okay, you're not going to focus on something in the distance and then focus really hard because you're going to fall over. Okay, you can't. You have to actually dim your gaze. So we do this same thing, and look at this definition. It's a technique called drishti, the method of gazing at a focal point in yoga practice that can help you draw your outward looking eyes and mind inward. And that's what we do too. Okay. And I have to say, I actually love that she's got this kind of blank gaze. All right. She is in a dimmed drishti. She's not intently looking at something. You can't do that in your clairvoyance. Don't have expectations. You never know what's going to happen. So there are no expectations. You're basically like in the center of your head, and you're going to dim everything. You're going to open your heart, open your gut, dim your gaze in your mind, and allow. Pay attention to the subtle differences. Ask your guides, ask your higher self, ask God for messages. Ask a question. Okay? So there's a very big difference between active thought and receiving intuition. All right? You want to listen with your whole being. So you're going to practice now. We've got two different things you're going to practice. Okay. And we're going to go on. We've got more. So you're going to learn to get out of your head. You're going to activate that pineal. You are going to get into a place in the center of your head where you can receive. You're going to dim your gaze. You're going to open the heart, open the gut, and listen with your whole being. All right? The mind, if you're stuck in here, it is going to prevent you from being clairvoyant. It's going to prevent you because it doesn't want you to be clairvoyant. It wants you to focus in the outside world. It wants you to get upset about things. It wants you to analyze. It wants you to plan, expect. Okay? No. So I've got another private message. She said, so I'm used to opening my head, but I was overwhelmed by energy when opening my heart and gut. Okay, amazing. And I'll tell you why. I have a hard time keeping them open. Maybe something I will have to just get used to, like when I first learned to open my head. What you're doing is you're not only now, if you learn to open your head, you actually have to get used to what that feels like because you're letting a lot of energy in. If you then open your heart and your gut, okay, now you're opening up to a much bigger perception, and you're also bringing this beautiful energy into the heart and the gut. So you're going to have to get used to what that feels like. Again, become somatically aware. When you open the heart and open the gut, it is a form of vulnerability. And if you're afraid of being vulnerable or open, okay, you're not going to be able to really perceive. If you're in the transition time classes, this will all start to calm for you. Those transition time classes are to help you to open and heal. They're there to help you to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to have that open heart and that open gut. But Holly, you are sensitive to bigger energies, okay? And since you're very sensitive to energies, you open up the heart and you open the gut, which many of you on here are, you're gonna feel almost waves of overwhelm because it's so big. So here's another private message. Drishti has been unfolding as I move more and more into conscious channeling. It is how I do it when talking to others now. Exactly. You can't channel information if you have resistance. Resistance comes from thinking. So dimming, not expecting, opening, opening. Okay, let me get into that. All right, so let's learn a little bit more. Some people, guys, are kinesthetic. I'm a huge kinesthetic person. So maybe when you are learning to listen, maybe you just need to do something. The very first time that I learned to not think, I was rollerblading. And it was the shushing, shushing, shushing of the rollerblades going back and forth. All of a sudden I realized, I'm not thinking. And then I was thinking, but it's a very distinct feeling. Some people like to bike and watch the tires, or just feel the movement of the biking or the movement of your legs, but do some kind of repetitive movement, walking, walking, walking. There is my boyfriend Daniel talked about this monk who when he went to do some work, I think it was at a monastery. This man every day was outside sweeping, and he would just sweep. And he said, I could spend all day sweeping because it was the sweeping that was his repetitive meditation movement. You don't have to be still, with fingers closed in an om or with eyes closed. I actually channel best with my eyes open. And when I wake up in the morning, I will clear my body before I get up, but then I will go and I will do putsy things like dishes or cleaning or laundry or something so that I can just perceive, right? That's how I work. I'm kinesthetic. So you need to also respect how your body operates. Is it doing something repetitive? Is it doing putsy things? Is it eyes open, eyes closed? How do you perceive best? Now, Another thing that you can use is something called automatic writing. Automatic writing, I would use the pineal gland meditation. I would get into the pineal. At the end of the meditation, I would ask a particular question and just let your hand start to write. If you're kinesthetic, this is another good way for you to do it. Okay, just let your hand write nonsense. And eventually you'll see that it's not writing nonsense. It's writing what wants to come through. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of activity with what you perceive. Now I want you guys to listen with your whole being. So everybody close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and then move into the center of the head. Open the top of the head. Open the heart. Open the gut. Now, when I show you this picture on the screen, I want you to look at the picture and dim your gaze. Listen with your whole being and either write or just feel into what you hear. What do you see internally? What do you feel internally? What do you just have a knowing about? Are there any smells, tastes, color? Listen for little subtle shifts within you that might show you what it feels like when you're in thought versus receiving intuition. So if you have a pen and paper, take a look at this picture on this screen. All I want you, don't analyze, don't think, perceive. What do you know? What do you feel? Again, write what you feel, write what you know. Not everyone's going to be good with pictures, okay? But some of you may be. So let yourself play. Do you notice heavy feelings or light feelings about this space? What do you know? And I'm going to tell you about it in a moment, but I want to give you time to write some things down. Don't overthink. What does your heart say? What does your gut say? So someone says to me privately, strong spiritual feeling, many generations living together. And Sushila says, in a maze. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Are you guys ready? Oh, Sharmila says sadness. Yeah. Feel into this. What's there? Stephanie says sad. So this is a place known as Harappa, okay? And it's a heavy layer, there's a heavy layer of radioactive ash that covered this site, all right? It's an archaeological dig. And this is a place in India that covers a three square mile area. And it's an ancient city where there is evidence that shows an atomic blast dating back thousands of years, from about 8,000 to 12,000 years ago. It destroyed most of the buildings and probably 500,000 people. Even Oppenheimer, when he created the atomic bomb, in a interview, they said, well, how does it feel to create the first atomic bomb? He said, it was not the first. So, you know, so when you feel into that civilization, are you feeling the sadness? Are you feeling the sadness about that? Are you feeling their last moments? Okay, so feel into that. What you want to do is you want to get into a place where you're starting to play with your clairvoyance. I am very good at reading pictures of people, because I'm very emotional focused. So when you focus in on pictures, look at pictures of people and see what you notice. I noticed a while after looking at photos that they almost look, like a language to me. I could see right into them. Okay, lots of people felt sorrow, sadness, like a burial ground, unrest, sadness, loss. Someone said a word arose for me. It was home. Ooh, yeah, I wonder if you were there. Another, Diane says, containment, then open to expansion. That's interesting because everybody certainly did expand into themselves. Okay, Catherine says, life is not smooth. All right, these are amazing perceptions. So I want to talk about, because we have about 1 minute left and then I've got to get to the other class. You can also use cards to kind of get in and start to play. Okay, you can get into a way to play. And I want to point out, whoops, I didn't mean to stop the share. I want to show you one other thing because, and I think what I'm going to probably do is get in and, oh, shoot. Well, apparently I didn't do that well. I will do a part 2 because there's so much more to tell you about with all of this. So let me just get in. I want to give you guys some suggestions. I would suggest doing something like psychic fun. And like I said, I'll do part 2 so that we can get into more learning, because you can learn about remote viewing, channeling, all these different things. You need to activate your clairvoyance. So getting out of your head and learning to be in there is huge. Listening with your heart and gut, huge. Have a psychic fun time with friends or family where you're going to read objects, have somebody give you an object and see what you get from it and test yourself out. Read pictures of people, see if it's accurate. Play a game called Truth versus Lies. Have somebody tell you 2 truths and a lie and see if you can tell which is what. Use playing cards, like a deck of cards, and try to feel, is it black or white, or maybe you're going to get really good and do it is the Queen of Spades, okay? And ask questions of your guides. And then you can use something like a pendulum or kinesiology to test that. I'll talk about that one in the part 2 because there's a lot to that. And it's 7:01. I have to get to the next class. I have, if you guys want to join me in the other classroom, I'm going to move over there right now, the classroom. So you have to get out of this one and get into the next one because of separate recordings. So I'm going to talk about your power, your place of power, balancing your power. All right. So I hope I see you there. You should have all gotten the link on the Facebook page, the email, or your text. Ciao, everyone.